just a little bit of an intro into setting up live lessons and making sure that they hopefully run smoothly. Obviously, there are certain aspects of it that can be a little bit of a pain in terms of if students or people join the meeting are not actually part of the team as such, they can have issues with accessing things like the chat. There are settings that can be changed to allow that to happen, but certain organisations might not allow that to happen.
Certain sentence or grammar in the story. When there's a repetition.
Oh, so someone was just talking in the background, sorry about that. So I'm just going to go into my screen. Hopefully you can see my team's background. If someone could just put their hand up or something just to let me know that they can see teams on the screen. Brilliant, thank you, Wendy. So I've set up just an example team. This is just assuming that you have already got your team set up. I can help in terms of setting the teams up later on if anyone would like to go through that. So on the actual team, the easiest way, and I think the best way for the students for you to set up the meeting is to make sure that you do it through the team. I know that some teachers have done it in the past just through the calendar on Teams, and then that doesn't necessarily tie up and make it easy for the students to then access it. So in the team, so I've got this example for training team that I've created. In the top right hand corner, and it may be in a slightly different place depending on which version of Teams that you currently have, there is a little meet button. I would always recommend using the desktop app where possible. It will be the most up-to-date version, and then it should look like the version that I've got on my screen. If you click on the little arrow, you've got two options. You've got a meet now, and I've got a schedule a meeting. I'd always schedule a meeting just because it just gives you that element of just controlling it beforehand. If you do the meet now, you may not necessarily have the same control to begin with, and you have to go through and change that. So I'm just going to click on schedule a meeting, and it gives me the options to do so. So I'm just going to create a meeting title. The one thing I would recommend is always putting in the time of it in the title just to help out the students. We've had a lot at our academy of students who have got the wrong time zone set up, and so then the time will be then adapted for them, and then they might see that they've got a lesson at 5 in the morning or something along those lines, and they might just get a little bit confused. So I would always just put the time of the meeting just in the title just to confirm that. You might want to add in your attendees who you want to attend the meeting. You can do that individually, or if you've got groups set up, you can type in a whole group and enter that there. You've got the time and date to set up as well. And then you've got some details in here, and these details will always display in the chat at the top when you start the meeting. Okay. And so we tend to put things along the lines of letting them know that the sessions are recorded because we record them at our school. But you can also put any other details that are useful in there as well. Once you have put in all your details, you just click send, and that then creates the event, and you notice that you've got the event on the chat area of the team. It will also go into your calendar as well, and it'll go into the students' calendar, so they can access it from there if they want to. The thing I would do before actually running the meeting, and as soon as I've set it up, is to just go back into the meeting and then go to the meeting options, which is probably going to open up on my other screen. So the meeting options has got various settings that I would recommend changing straight away. So the first one that I change is so that only me can access or bypass the lobby. That means the students can't start the meeting and start messing around before you actually get in there. So I would highly recommend doing that option. The only other one that I then change initially is changing who can present to only me as well. When setting up the meetings, I would recommend doing it so that only the person that is going to be running the meeting is going to be setting up. So if you've got multiple teachers on a class, then you might think it's easier for one person to set them all up. But if you do it in that way, so if I was to set it up for another teacher, for example, they wouldn't be able to bypass the lobby until I'd let them in. So I would then have to join the lesson and then let them in and then disappear, which is just a little bit more hassle. There is also this option down here, and this stops people being able to unmute themselves until you turn it off. And that can be useful if you've got a class that likes to try and mess around quite a lot. It just stops them being able to unmute and start talking when you don't want them to. So you can find that useful. I tend not to use it too much because generally the classes that I teach are fairly well behaved in that respect. Make sure that you click save, otherwise the settings won't then save. In terms of actually running the lesson, so I can then just close down that window, I would then go into the meeting as I just have and click join. Within that, obviously I've got my camera. I can change the camera settings. One of the biggest problems that I've noticed from trying to help some members of staff out has been in terms of their audio settings. If you click on this little icon here, it'll allow you to change those. And so you've got various speakers. So you'll see that I've got 3 different sets of speakers set up. And so if you're having issues with the sound, then that's one of the things to check. And I'll show you how to check it when you're in the meeting in a second as well. So you have to make sure that's set up. Likewise, same for your microphone. So if you've got more microphones plugged in, then you need to change that. And if you are planning on using a camera, you've got multiple options potentially for the camera as well. Once you're happy with those settings, you can then just click the join now. And this would then join in that lesson and that meeting. Along the top, if you're using the desktop app, you'll see your menu. If you're using the online web app, then down the bottom, you'll have the menu instead. So one of the areas is the participants. So this shows you everyone that is currently in the meeting. Obviously, there's only me at the moment. In here, you've got a few different settings just to help out. The 3 dots next to participants has got the don't allow attendees to unmute, so that setting that we looked at earlier on. So you can toggle that on and off quite easily. So if you just want to make sure all the students are muted very quickly and they can't unmute while you talk about something, and then later on you want them to be able to talk, you can then just toggle that on and off. You can manage the permissions, which will take you back to that settings window that I had on my screen a little while ago, if there's something else you think you need to change mid-meeting. But this one is probably one of the most important ones. So at our school, we're asked to take a register of who attends the lesson. It can be a bit of a pain while you're trying to teach to make a record of who's attended, but Teams keeps a list of who's joining the meeting. It also tells you when they leave as well. So if a student tries to log in and just try and fool you, I've logged in, I've been downloaded, but then straight away they log out and you don't see them again, obviously it will record that on the spreadsheet that gets downloaded. So that is useful to use. The conversation space or the chat area is just a general chat area where students can write to. As we've mentioned earlier on, there can be issues if students don't join as being signed into their account and don't seem to be but part of the team. So just try and make sure that students are part of the team. If they're having issues and they can't write in the chat, just ask them to sign out or to close the meeting. Make sure they're signed in onto their Office 365 account and then access the meeting again, and hopefully that then should sort that issue out. You've got the raise hand feature that you can use, and I know lots of you have seen and can have that in there. So it's useful to have that feature and get the students to raise their hand before they start talking, so that you're not having them all talking at the same time. You can kind of turn your camera on and off throughout the session using these icons here. The 3 dots at the top can be used again to go to the meeting options. They can also be used to go to the device settings to change your camera and use your microphone if you're having issues. And they can also be used to go to start the recording. And something else we normally find useful to make sure is we turn off the incoming or video for students, just so that we don't have anything going on in the background that might be caught on the recording. And then the last thing, just really to talk about in terms of running the session, is the sharing of content. So there's various things that you can share. You can share individual windows, so for the applications. I tend to find it easier to share my whole desktop screen, because then it means I can go from one window to another without having to end my sharing and then start the sharing again. And the other thing that is useful if you're planning on trying to show a video, although I wouldn't recommend it, is to include the computer sound in that. I think there's a couple of questions that are coming up. Andrea's just put in that attendance reports has crashed a bit today, so the insights can be used as well, but there's normally a time delay with that one. Thank you, Andrea. I haven't tried to use it today, so I don't know. Just trying to see who's got some questions. Dave, have you got a question? Okay, or John, have you got a question?
No, I just put my hand up earlier on when you were asking whether we could.
Okay. Is there anyone else that has actually got a question, or have they just left their hands up for some reason?
I can't hear you, Martin.
You can't hear me at all?
No, nor can I. You keep wavering in and out.
Yeah.
Let me just try a different. So is that any better for you?
No, not for me.
No, it's quieter.
It's quieter, okay. How about now?
No better.
Just the same.
Okay. I'm not quite sure what's better. Is that a bit better? Maybe I was just a bit too far away.
You've just got quite a bit of feedback. I don't know if that's what the problem is.
Okay.
You've got 2 things open. I don't know.
No, there's not. I haven't got anything else open. Just seeing if there's anyone else. I can't see anything that could be causing that. I apologise if there's a couple of issues. I can't see anything on my end that might be causing that, unfortunately. Someone did just put something in the chat about recording. So in terms of the recording, so there's the record button in the 3 dots. And I'll talk about where the recording goes in a moment once I've finished this part. Someone has just asked...
Martin, sorry to interrupt, but your sound is really bad.
Okay. Not quite sure. Just bear with me.
Have you got headphones in, Martin? Because maybe...
Yeah, I've got headphones in.
Yeah, take them out, perhaps.
So I potentially think it might be because I've got 2 meetings running, because I've got this one sorted at this one open at the same time. Just bear with me.
It started when you started clicking on this, on what you've got on the right hand side there.
I think it's because I've got 2 different meetings running, unfortunately, so that's caused a bit of an issue. Is it any better now? Does that sound any better?
No, it's still very quiet.
Still really quiet. So I can only assume that it's probably because I've still got this part open. So I'm just going to.
That sounds a little better.
It's a bit better now, is it? Yeah, I think it may just be because of this. I had my microphone open on the other team. So hopefully that's a little bit better for you guys. I'd forgotten to close that part. The joys of trying to do two things on the same computer. Doesn't particularly like it. So within there, so you've got the recording aspect that I was talking about. In terms of safeguarding, the way that we've gone about safeguarding is all sessions are recorded. Students have their cameras off. Staff can have their cameras on if they want to. And that recording just means that if any allegations and things are made, that we've got evidence of what went on within the session. The other thing that I will say is that when you go through and finish the session, don't just leave the meeting. Make sure that you end it by clicking on the little arrow and choose the end meeting. If you leave it, it means that it's still open. The kids can join the meeting or carry on in the meeting. If you end the meeting, it closes it down for everyone. And so that's another bit through the kind of safeguarding aspect of things as well. Once you do end it, so I'm just going to end it now here. And hopefully that should mean that you've then got all of the issues with the microphone stopping. But once you have finished the meeting, the recording goes into the chat area. It used to go into stream, which caused a few issues with certain things last year. The recording only lasts for 20 days. So what I am doing with mine is I'm downloading them, and then it will just download it into my downloads on my computer. And then what I'm doing from there is going through and then uploading them into the files area on that same team. And what that then does is it means it can be accessed afterwards, and I can then also delete them all at the same time at a later date as well if I choose to. And then the students that have missed the lesson for whatever reason have still got access to that meeting and can then go back through and watch it later on. Or those that were in the meeting and just need to go over something again can then just sit and play the video again as well. Are there any other questions? I think a couple of hands up again.
Can I just ask about the subtitles? Somehow I've managed to get your subtitles.
So the subtitles they only work for English, which should be useful for most things. But there is a subtitles aspect which you should find. I believe it's in the options area in the 3 dots, and that will then, I don't know how accurate it is, but it will attempt to, for those students that decide to turn it on, it will have the captions on. It doesn't do it for everyone, it only does it for the people that choose to turn it on. Are there some other questions?
Hi, Martin. Just a quick one. You started going quiet on the bit that I really needed, which was how do I share a PowerPoint? Okay,
so to share the PowerPoint, I'll see if I can get it so that it doesn't go quiet again. I'll make sure I don't have the microphone on. Let's see. So in order, hopefully I haven't gone quiet this time. Can you hear me okay, Sarah?
Yes, I can, yeah.
Brilliant. So to share things, it's this little icon at the top, the one with the arrow and the rectangle.
Yeah.
And then down the bottom, you'll have what you want to share. I would recommend the screen option rather than individual items. But the one thing to remember there is if you've got anything confidential open, the students might see that. So just make sure you've got nothing confidential open there.
Brilliant. So if I just have a PowerPoint open, I can share that and then they can see it. Brilliant.
If you are planning on showing a video, which I wouldn't recommend because it's not great to do, if you want a video, I'd just put a link to it in the chat or give it to the students so they can watch it. You can just say, right, start the video now, we'll watch it, and then kind of when it finishes, then they can go through. But if you do want to try and do any sort of sound, include the computer sound, and then that should then share your sound with them.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay.
Martin, when you set up a new team, sorry, not a new team, when
new meeting.
New meeting. I did this yesterday and I actually invited one student from the group, but all of them joined. How do you do it so you can only invite one or two of them, say, or can't you?
So if you do it as part of a team, then everyone that's part of the team can join that meeting. If you want an individual student, that's when using the calendar instead would be a better way of doing it, and setting up a meeting through the calendar.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, Martin, I've got one.
Yep.
We've not got the calendar icon on our version of Teams or the schedule meeting option. Is that something the technicians will have to sort
I would
out?
imagine that's an admin area. So your technician should be able to turn that on and off. They might have a reason for turning it off, but I don't know.
Right. Okay, thanks.
I've just having a look in the chat area. A couple of questions, so just bear with me while I read some. So I've got one, Jane, so about sharing a link to the file area. Yeah, so once I've created where I want to share it, what I tend to do, I'm just going to leave this meeting, is in the files area, I will then just find the folder where I've put the recording. So let's assume I've just put it in here. I will then copy the, I can't do that one. I'll then copy the link to the area, and then I just tend to put that link in the chat area. So generally when you share the PowerPoint, it will only be the PowerPoint that is part of the recording and what the students will see. It will focus on that area. You may get it so that it has some small icons and small visualized versions of anyone that might have their screen on, or little icons of their initials. So that's just a question from Amy. Anyone else got a question? Are the hands still up from last time, or are there new questions coming in?
Hi Martin, it's Mark here. If a pupil is annoying me, can I get rid of them?
Yes, you can. So what we tend to do is kind of have a 3 strikes and you're out. On the participants, so if I just go back into it, and that's something I did actually mean to show and I forgot to. So thank you for reminding me. So on the participants list, hopefully I haven't gone quiet again. I won't be able to do it for myself, but if you click on the little 3 dots, there'll be a remove participant. And this spotlight feature is actually another good feature to use. So if you are talking, you can make sure that you are the highlight for everyone in the meeting. And so teams will try and go from one person to another and try and choose the most relevant person. But a lot of the time, see, as a teacher running the meeting, we want to be the one they're focusing on. So you can spotlight you, which means that you are going to be the one that is shown for everyone. You can also, using the 3 dots, mute individual students, and there is also an option when you've got more people in the meeting to mute everyone at the same time. Okay. Has anyone else got a question?
I've got a question about assignments. Is it possible to ask one about that?
If we do that one at the end, if that's all right. Just if I keep everything to do with meetings in one place, and then I'm happy to answer some things about assignments at the end. Are you okay with that? Is that Lindsay?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Try and remind me before I do if I seem to be going beforehand.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions about the meeting?
Yeah, Martin, do you have to turn the recording facility on, or does it automatically do it?
You should be able to record straight away. You just have to make sure that you remember to start the recording at the beginning.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions for anyone?
If you're sharing the screen to show a PowerPoint,
yes.
In order to be able to alter anything for the students, like remove a participant or mute them, do you have to flick off your PowerPoint to the Teams?
You will have to. So what I would tend to do, so for me, I have two screens set up, and I have Teams on one and my sharing things on another one. If you don't have the facility for having two, what I would recommend is having a mobile phone with Teams on, or a tablet, which you use for the management side of things. And so you can have the participants list open on there, and that way you can kind of mute through there. So you can sign into the meeting twice, once on your computer, once on your tablet or on your phone, and then you can do the managing side of things from there if you need to. But yes, otherwise you would have to stop the sharing part of it, or minimize the presentation, go into the Teams screen. So I would just, if I was sharing something, I'd just make sure I go back onto this screen, and then I can obviously access the participants area.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Any other questions? Excellent. So hopefully that has been okay. So obviously I will share this recording so you can look back through it, and hopefully the mutedness won't hurt it too much. I am happy, and I'll keep this in the recording if this is okay, Lindsay, to just take a couple of questions if anyone's got any questions about assignments or any other aspects of Teams. But other than that, you don't feel you have to stay for this this part of the meeting.
Thanks, Martin.
No problem.
Thank you.
No worries. So
Thanks,
Lindsay,
Martin.
no worries.
Hi. The question we had about assignments is, so that we're giving the children feedback, and they're not able to respond back. Do you know if there's a way that we can do that?
So when they've got an assignment, when you mark it, the thing that you have to make sure that you do. So I'm just going to put something in here. I won't put anything else. So when you go through to give the feedback, you have to make sure that you return it back to the students.
Yeah.
So you go through, you put in your comment, and you just make sure you hit the return button. At that point, it should then be available for the students to then feedback and then respond to your feedback. Have you returned it to the students?
Yes, so we've all returned it, but we don't know how then. Sorry, how is it again that they send it?
So all they would then do is they would then just go back onto their assignment, and what they'll have is a list of completed where mine says returned. And so then they just go back onto the lesson assignment. Then they just have a look, open it up again, and then they should be able to see the work, and it should then be able to be edited, and then they can submit it again for you to then mark it again afterwards.
Okay, that's fine. That's what. So they'll just need to submit it back to us. Right, that's great. Thank you very much.
No problem. Has anyone got any other questions at all?
Yeah, Martin, I've got one. I've Googled it and everything. I haven't found out. If I wanted to use my iPad like I've brought home a whiteboard, but they can't see it because of the quality of my camera. If I want to use my iPad to like scribe and do like guided writing and stuff, got any tips on how to do that? I've tried connecting it. I've downloaded Reflector, and
so
it doesn't show up in like when you open your share tray. It doesn't show up as an option.
So what I use is something called Whiteboard, which is a Microsoft app. And so the Microsoft app, so I actually have a kind of a touch screen computer that I use, and I load Whiteboard up on that computer, and then I can use a pen on it, and I can draw things and do whatever I want on there. And then I also have it open on the computer that I'm teaching on. So if I just go into it. Okay, so this is something that I did yesterday. So this was hand drawn on my tablet. It's actually synchronizes really quickly. It's virtually instant, depending on how quick your internet connection is. So I draw on my tablet, and then I can share this screen with the students.
Oh, that's really cool. So you have it downloaded on your computer, and then so like I'd have it on my iPad. You share your computer screen that's got Whiteboard open, then have it on the iPad, draw on there, and it will show them what I've drawn.
So I don't know whether there is definitely the app version for the iPad, but if you sign into Office 365 on the website, the Whiteboard app is on there as well, so you should be able to do it in that way.
Amazing, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
I had another question about assignments, if that's okay. About assignments in channels, if it's possible to upload assignments into separate channels or not. I set up an EAL group, an EAL Teams, and then I've got each student, because I teach them one-to-one usually, got each student in a separate channel. And I can upload assignments to the general group, but I can't seem to upload them to each channel. Is it possible to do that, or shall I just direct them to
I believe that the assignments, just trying to... I believe the assignments you can only do for the whole team.
No
rather
problem.
Than for so in that way, if you need a specific one, so either just label them individually, or have a separate team for each kind of one-to-one, which I know is a bit of a pain, but it's as far as I know, the only way around it at the moment.
That's no problem. I'll just put their name on in capital letters. They'll figure it out. That's no problem. Thank you.
Let's hope so. No worries. Any further questions at all?
Sorry, Martin, just to go on that thing that you last said, I know that you can't post like the particular assignment, but I'm pretty sure at the bottom when you set the assignment, you can like post assignment notifications to a different channel. So it like automatically comes up with general, but when I did a topic one yesterday, even though it posted the assignment in the general, all the comments for it came up then in the channel that I'd set for it.
Yes, so that would, so you would set the assignments up as you normally would. So Catherine, are you still with us?
I'm still here. Yeah, thank you.
So when you set it up down the bottom, you've got this option, and I forgot about that one, so thank you. So you can change which channel it gets posted. So the assignment would then be the same. So you still have to set it up, and you'd have to still set up multiple assignments in the team. But then you could just say, right, this is going to go to child 1, this is going to go to child 2, this is going to go to child 3, and then that would assign it in that way.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you so much.
No problem. Any further questions, or is everyone happy with that now? Excellent. The last thing that I will just say, and I did have it up at the very beginning, is the bottom link has got some cheat sheets that I've created that you can use just to remind yourself of some things. It's more than just using Teams, and there's some student versions, there's teacher versions in terms of setting up live lessons, and also setting up assignments. There is also things about how to create PDFs, because a lot of people like to use the PDFs there as well. Those are all free. They're on the CAS website, which if you're not signed up, you will have to create an account for, but it's all free, and feel free to use that as you go through. Other than that, I will let you make the most of your day. So thank you for your attendance today. I'll hang about just for a bit if there is anything else from anyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin.